Hello, bass family, and welcome to Everything Bass. Hey, we're moving on with Guided Improv 2 Minor Triads. So if you're new, maybe this is the first video you've seen, I wanted to remind you kind of the idea behind it. So Guided Improv is my method for giving you a vehicle to be able to practice a certain musical concept and improvise with it. So if you're not sure what that means, to improvise means to take the concept and solely that concept, in this case a minor triad, and practice on your own, just making up stuff and exploring the sounds, the colors, try to develop new techniques. This is kind of the meat of what I do for my own personal experience. I will come across a progression or some kind of idea, concept. I'll put a looper on, I'll record myself playing the chords with my piccolo bass, and then I'll pull up my bass and I'll just practice and try to farm those ideas out. Now, before we get into the meat of it, what I want to also share with you is I remember years ago, decades ago, reading an article in Guitar Player magazine by Steve Vai. And Steve was talking about how sometimes he'll take one note, and let's say an A, and he will spend so much time just seeing how many different ways can he play that A. And I think that's where he gets his overwhelming palette of expressions and colors. It's one of the most expressive players I've ever heard, because he would slide into the A, bend up to the A, bend down to the A, do pick scratches with the A, do things with the whammy bar, use different effects pedals, all these different ways to take one note, so that later on as he's improvising and he remembers, oh, I got this certain emotion by wiggling this and doing this and hitting that thing, he knew how to call it up in a second. That really inspired me. And so I spent lots of time taking simple little phrases, sometimes one note, and seeing how many ways I could create different colors and emotions out of that. So last time in Guided Improv 1, I took a 3-chord progression. It's 4 measures, but 3 chords, the 1, 4, 5, and I had you just play major triads. This time, I'm not even doing that. I'm giving you 1 chord, A minor. Now, technically, as you hear the progression, which I played over in the intro, there's different forms of the A minor, but the overall tonality is just A minor. So on this 4-bar progression, I just want you to play A minors. Now I'm going to give you some guided things to practice each time. If you, the best way honestly is if you become a Backstage Pass subscriber, go on to the link in the description to Patreon, my Patreon page. For $8 you can get access to just $8 a month. You can get access to all of my material, but find the post marked Guided Improv 2 Minor Triads. Not only can you download the sheet music, which is simple because it's 4 bars of A minor, but you can download an audio file, better than the loop I have. Actually, I did it in my recording studio, and I recorded the same progression for 2 minutes, I think. And that, I think, it's a WAV file. You can download it and play over it. It'll play off of almost any device. You can, hopefully, if you even have like GarageBand, you can actually record onto it, and that's very cool. And that's why I use the WAV file, because it's really flexible yet also quite universal. But taking that play along track and being able to play these ideas over it is key. So let's jump right in. So we're using the A minor triad. Before I get into it, it's one of the simplest triads to remember because it spells the word ace, A-C-E. So if you have an A minor triad, let's start with the 5th fret A. The minor third is the C, and the E is the perfect 5th. So the first guided exercise I have for you is use any rhythms you want. So I'm not requiring you to play only 8th notes, 16th notes, whatever. But just use the A minor triad tones in the first 5 frets with the root on the open A. So let's explore that a little bit. We want to get into full position playing, meaning instead of just seeing the A minor like this, which it very much is, A, C, E, A, we want to see in this general area, this first 5 frets, where are all the places you can play that? So I'm going to show you a couple. I'm going to go deeper, and just as now I'm thinking about it, I'm going to go deeper than I initially even thought. So in this, whenever you have the root of a minor triad, the 5th is also right below. So because I'm playing an open A, the E can also be played open. So if you want to play a note below but stay within the triad, those are simple to get there. Then you have the C, the E here, the A, and you can play the C here. Okay, so you have all these notes. There's a lot of ideas you can get from just that, but just improvising using those notes. So take that as a chance, but also let me show you this alternative fingering. Since we're given the limit of the first 5 frets, you can also play the 5th fret of the A with your pinky. Middle finger plays the C here, index plays the E, the A, and the C. And this is a very cool, because it's all in 4 frets, and it's a good one to work on, especially, let's say, just that moment there, you're like, oh, I never thought about playing it that way. That's what you should use. That's what you should do. Download the WAV file, put it on like infinite repeat, and just play using that. And I think you'll find that just sometimes a new fingering gives you new ideas, and that's what this is all about. I can hear some people going, triads are so boring. They don't have to be. There's some really great bass solos where I've been doing transcriptions where one of the coolest sections would be just a triad, but they did something real cool with it, and that means you can too. All right, now what do we do with number 2? Now we do the same as number 1, but with the root on the 5th fret of the E string and staying between frets 5 and 10. So now we're here, and we can't go lower than that. I'm putting limitations so that you make sure you farm out all the possible ideas and you don't fall back into like muscle memory ruts. So here we got A, C, E. Now, one of the easiest ways, and I've talked about this in previous videos, but to expand into a full position is to visualize once you play the root 3 5, instead of playing the octave here like with this finger, take the index finger, go all the way up and play root 3 5. You're really just playing this an octave higher. Now you'll notice I made some fingering choices. Like one is I start here and then I move up right away. So instead of playing like this and then going here, I play, move my index finger, same thing. I'm doing what's called a half bar, where I play 2 strings with 1 finger on the same fret. Where did I get that idea? From improvising over a loop for hours and hours. And then I started going, oh, that felt really good. And I like how liquid that sounds. These things are explorations that, yes, people could teach you, but they're kind of more valuable when you find them on your own. Let's go to number 3. Start each measure with a half note, open A, and on the A string, and then improvise the last half of each measure using A minor chord tones all over the fingerboard. So what am I saying there? That if we're playing this timing, every measure I want you to start with an open A. 1, 2. Now something here, 4. 1, 2. Play something else, 3, 4. What that might sound like is just simply like like that. By tethering yourself to a half note at the beginning of every measure, you have this very short amount of time, 2 beats, to play other ideas, but yet get back to that. And I think that's a good mental discipline to get into when we have to still serve the song. We can't just willy-nilly through songs and play whatever we want, well, unless that's the style of music you're doing. But it's a good exercise to get more freedom and to learn all the fingerboard, to get this kind of idea of a half note, open A, anything you want, half note, open A, anything you want. Now use the open A because that gives your left hand, you can just move and freely express. You're not having to go to like the 5th fret and then play and then jump back there and play and jump back there. That's a great skill, but I think to start with, just use the open A and end each measure with some other notes from the A major, only A, C, and E. Those are the only 3 notes, but then anywhere on the fingerboard. That I do that a lot, and it seems like every time I can just relax and get my mind in the right set and do that kind of exercise, I always get new ideas, and that's what we're all hunting for. So lastly, number 4, just to improvise. Now improvise whatever you like, but only use those tones. You can use any rhythmic device. You can go anywhere on the neck you want. You can stay on 1 string if you want, and just use A, C, and E. And borrowing from Steve Vai, how many different ways can you play those? Maybe you play the A with your thumb, but you shake the heck out of it. Gets a cool sound. Maybe there's other ways. Maybe you'll practice tapping if that's something you've been working on. The concept is limitless. You can do whatever you want on number 4, and that's really where I want you to spend the most time. Use the first 3 to get familiar with where the notes are on your fingerboard, get your mind kind of focused on that tonality, and then number 4 is where I want you to that's the dessert to the meal. That's where I don't mind if, telling people do that for as long as you can. For an hour, you can do that. Sometimes when I'm teaching private lessons and I'm saying, hey, do this sight reading exercise, but only about 10 minutes a day, because I don't want them burning out or getting frustrated. I want them to take 10 minutes a day, which will get us consistent growth, as opposed to like an hour one day and then being burnt out and not doing it for 3 days. You're going to be in a net negative at that point. All right, so that's Guided Improv 2 Minor Triads. I hope you guys dig it. Let me know in the comments below if you have any trouble downloading the WAV file or getting it to play back. Yeah, if you need any help at all with becoming a Backstage Pass member, something doesn't make sense, you want to ask questions, please, I'm here for you. You can ask in the comments below. You can email me at dtitus@daletitus.com. All right, today, one of my faves, man, looking back at I still have CDs. I have lots of CDs, tons of CDs. And sometimes when I'm preparing for these Encore items, I'll just dig in and start looking for CDs, and I'll go, oh, what a great one, I want to share this one. And this one is 1981's album Escape by Journey featuring Ross Vallory. If I was, I'm preparing the list of the 10 most underrated bass players, I have to put Ross on there. Ross, I don't think gets the respect he deserves for how creative his bass lines are. He used chorus on his bass in a very cool way. On some tracks. Of course, he's a great singer. It's wonderful. And this particular album, Escape, was one of those chart-topping blockbusters that when it first was released, I was, of the age of buying albums and stuff, and it just blew everybody's socks off. I mean, it was so common to turn on the radio, and chances are you'd hear a song from this album. The standout cuts, of course, Don't Stop Believing. Everyone, that's a go-to, and it's got a great bass line. We so focus on the lyrics and the guitar part, dig deeper, listen really closely to the bass line, and hear the just genius that Ross has. Who's Crying Now? Really great way to play a ballad. If you're wanting to improve your ballad playing, you make this a case study. Keep on Running, driving tune. Oh man, that's just such a great tune. And then, of course, one of my favorite tracks is not really mentioned a lot by people, but is Mother, Father. That song is drama. It's so dramatic and powerful and lyrically it's just a beautiful tune. But what makes it that way is the foundation that Ross sets. So once again, if you're just not familiar with diving deeper into Journey and you're ever really focused on the bass playing, this is a great one-stop shop for that. Obviously, one of their biggest recordings of all time. It constantly shows up in lists of like the top albums of top rock albums of a certain category. So there's a reason to check it out. It's just great music. It's fun music. And Ross, you're great. I've had an opportunity to meet you once or twice at the NAMM show, and I think you're a wonderful person. And I also loved. You did a contributing article to Bass Player Magazine once about surviving life on the road, and it was phenomenal. You're a great person. All right, Guided Improv 2 Minor Triads and Journey's Escape featuring Ross Vallory. Check both out and let me know what you think. I'm very intrigued about how this Guided Improv is going. Right now, as I said last, for Guided Improv 1, the tracks are going to stay very sparse, with not a lot of rhythmic variety on them. I want them to be simple, so you're not thinking about anything else than what you can create. In the future, I will define like a very crazy rhythm, because I want you to also practice how to improvise over that. We can't just practice improvising over blank canvases, but that's a good way to start. So you'll see the evolution every time we get together. There'll be another theoretical concept I want you to practice improvising, but also a little degree of difficulty bump up. So if you found this one particularly difficult, maybe go back to Guided Improv 1. Check that out. Also, check out the Minor Triad video I did if you're just unfamiliar on Minor Triads and want to get a little deeper dive in that. There's a lot of resources on my channel, and I want you to explore them and share your ideas with me as much as you can. So guys, thank you so much. Please, if you wouldn't mind, subscribe to the channel. I'm making this pitch a lot because I'm so close to 900 subscribers. Now, years down the line, you might see this and I'm beyond that, God willing. But right now, if you could just help me by subscribing to the channel, it's free, and then give the video a thumbs up, hit the bell icon if you want to be notified every time that I post a video. All those things matter to help growing the channel, and really helps in YouTube's eyes, them unlocking resources for me once I can get the channel over 1,000 subscribers. So thank you so much. It means a lot to me, and I'll see you at the next video.